Welcome to another episode of Spaventoso Speculates for the first week of April 2025. This is episode 3, where I present 10 or so cards in and around the legacy format that I'm keeping an eye on. Let's get to it. The first card on our list today is Orm's Chant, originally from Plane Shift, an all-time high of over $30. It has recently been reprinted a couple times. It's going back down. All-time low of 6. It's used quite a bit in Modern right now. I know there are a few legacy decks that utilize it as well. I'm thinking now might be a good time to pick this up, since look at all these legacy decks using it. Its popularity in Modern is going up. That's probably going to drive the price back up a bit. So if you look over on eBay, about $5. It's a foil copy here. $5. Might be a good idea to snag a few of these. Over on TCG Player, if you're looking to pick up a bunch of copies, it might be a better deal. $3-4. Or these more premium versions, you might be able to get a good deal before they get too expensive. Next up, Price of Progress from Exodus. As you can see, the card did go up a couple years ago, back down. It's on its way trending back up. And it is used in a few legacy decks, mostly in the sideboards over on MTG decks. It kind of shows a similar trend here. Card's going back up. And it is used in a ton of legacy decks. Bunch of legacy decks here, even pre-modern. It looks like it's in a couple of decks. So if you don't have any of these in your collection, you might want to head over to eBay, TCG Player, and pick a couple up. It was reprinted on the list. I think that might be a little bit of a factor in why the price dipped. A couple of little reprints, a couple of secret layers here. Personally, I like the original copy, but if you want a list reprint or the secret layer drop version, I might want to consider getting a few of these, as it's a great card. Counterbalance is the next card that I'm keeping an eye on. It almost reached about $35-40 at one point, and has since been reprinted a couple of times, driving the price back down. It's all-time low, about $5. Maybe people might have forgotten about it back then, but it is used in a couple of legacy decks. It's not going to slot into every deck, but if you build around it or maybe include it in your sideboard, it might be a good time to pick this one up now, since the price has dropped off over the last couple of years. Taking a look at all these decks that have used the card, quite a few in Legacy especially. Modern has a few, even Vintage has one. I know I slotted in my Delver deck, and over on eBay, about $8 for the new Future Sight frame. That's probably going to be the cheapest one. The Cold Snap one might be a little bit more expensive. TCG Player lists all the versions. The Masterpiece one, a little expensive. Secret Lair Drop, a little bit more affordable. If you are targeting maybe this Mystery Booster 2 one, that might be a reasonable price. So I anticipate once these copies start to get bought out for the price to start trending back up. Now we have a green card, Carpet of Flowers from Urza's Saga originally. As you can see, pretty volatile price over the last couple of years. All-time high, almost $40. All-time low, 75 cents. Pretty sure that's when I picked up all my copies. Legacy here has utilized the card quite a bit. It's great against blue decks, and so any deck that runs green is going to want to have a couple of these at least in the sideboard. Over on MTG decks, it kind of mirrors the same trends. It looks like since the price is bottoming out, might be a good time to consider picking some of these up if you plan on playing green at all in Legacy. It's a good idea to have some in your sideboard, or I don't know, if you main deck, if you're feeling spicy. On eBay, it looks like the Doctor Who one might be the cheapest version. Might even be able to get a good deal on some foils if you place some bids. Here on TCG Player, we see all the different versions. The list, I do have a couple of copies of the list ones. But again, I favor the OG one, about $3.50 maybe. But you might be able to snag, again, a good deal on some foils if you do a little bit of digging. A newer card here, Perilous Snare from Aether Drift. It has start your engines. Whenever this artifact enters, you can exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until this artifact leaves the battlefield. Then it has max speed, tap, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control, activate only as a sorcery. This card had a little bit of hype around it and now has totally flattened out. Looks like about 30 cents is kind of what you might be able to expect. I did see a couple of Legacy decks slot this in. They're testing it out, so it is on my radar, especially now as a cheap pickup. Look at a couple of decks, a handful of decks here, trying it out. If Standard or maybe Pioneer gather some steam with this card, expect to see it go back up. But for now, on eBay, about $1 maybe per a card. Maybe you can get a foil for around the same price if you're lucky. And yeah, over on TCG Players, similar story. Probably be targeting this first place foil if I was looking to pick some up before the price goes up too much. But again, this is just kind of a flyer here, kind of based off some of these Legacy decks, trying it out. Next up, Lorien Revealed from Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. I've had my eye on this card for a while. Sometimes it's a little difficult to pull the trigger on a $5 common, especially when you need a ton of them for a bunch of different decks, but luckily the price has been trending down for this card. Let's see. According to MTG decks, it's used in quite a bit of decks here, especially in Legacy. Good amount of blue decks need this to go find their dual lands, find their island. Over on eBay, about $2, maybe $2.50. So I'm not sure if this is going to get a reprint anytime soon, so it might be a good idea to pick them up. If you fancy the Showcase Scroll, there are still a good amount of copies, between probably $5 and $7. So if you want to Island Cycle, or maybe draw 3 cards later in the game, it's a good choice. And this card I was a bit unsure about initially. If you were able to pick up some copies for under $1, you did good. But if you're like me and waited a little bit, and looks like Pyrogroif is finally kind of leveled off. It shot up to about $20, but it's back down now. Used in a handful of Legacy decks. And yeah, people were pretty excited about the card. Now might not be doing as well as they originally thought. Looks like some dual commander decks are using it, but Legacy seems to have the bulk of the decks. The Mono Red Prison especially is really liking this card. There's a Rakdos Goyfs deck I've seen floating around too that's using a bunch of the Lurgoyfs. And over on eBay, yeah, about $5. The extended art, $5 too, if you like the extended art ones. Modern Horizons 3 had a handful of good cards for Legacy, and this is turning out to be one of them. You might be able to find a little bit cheaper over on TCG Player or your local card store. So here we have Thunder Trap Trainer. It's another newer card from Loomborough. The initial hype around this card set it at about a $20 rare before the set came out, but that quickly crashed. Now hovering maybe around 50 cents or so. A couple of legacy, modern, standard, vintage, just getting some play just about everywhere. But I don't think it's gotten full adoption yet, otherwise the price would be a little bit more expensive. So this is one you probably do want to keep an eye on, especially for legacy, as there's quite a few decks testing it out. Especially I think this wizard deck. A lot of people are kind of maybe trying it out instead of the standard Delver deck to go full wizards. But if you do happen to buy it, there's some foil ones available. You also might want to pick up the token card for it. And on TCG Player, you see all the different versions. The showcase one looks pretty nice. $2. It's not too big of a difference from the other versions. And they have quite a few of the tokens there as well. So make sure always have the proper tokens with your deck. Next we have Unlicensed Hearse from Streets of New Capenna. I was lucky enough to open up a couple of these in some booster packs when it first came out. But if you were paying $15 for a little more for this when it originally was released, well, the price is now bottomed out. The foil version might be worth targeting. As you can see here, a couple of different formats are utilizing the card in Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy. And over here, I'll show you some of the decks that Legacy is using this in. And now, mostly a sideboard card. It's pretty good against graveyard type strategies on eBay. This breaking news version. I mean, if that's your style, you might want to pick it up. Personally, I kind of just like the original one. And they did make a Secret Lair version as well. It really tanked the price of the original version, so now might be a good time to pick this one up, especially in foil. To wrap up our list, I wanted to target some foil cards that I have been monitoring. First up is Fury. Since it's banning in Modern, it has fallen off the cliff and is now quite a better reasonable price, especially in non-foil. But the foil version is the one that I'd want to be using. You can take a look at a couple of the decks it's used here. Now, there are quite a few versions and many legacy decks that use this card. If you're a red mage, you might already have some in your collection. But over on eBay, there are some foil versions for under $10. Some on TCG Player too. $5, $6 you're looking at for a foil. So if you keep an eye out, you might be able to snag a good deal on a card that used to be pretty expensive, but now is much more reasonably priced. Another foil that I'm monitoring is Ignoble Hierarch. Here we have the foil etched version. As you can see, over the last couple of years, it's been quite flat. A couple of decks that utilize it in Legacy. And here's some more decks. It's some Commander decks are using this. But yeah, the full list here. There's quite a few decks that use this guy. And the foil one especially might be a good time to pick some up. $3, $4, maybe $5. There's quite a few versions on TCG Player under $3. And maybe if you buy a couple from the same seller, you might be able to get that shipping discount. But especially the retro frame, I have a couple foil versions of this and they look pretty nice. Last card today, Sundering Eruption from Modern Horizons 3. I'd be targeting the foil version of this card. It's used in Red Prison, a couple of modern decks. If you go over to MTG decks, you can see picked up a little bit of interest in this card recently. Big old list of decks that use it. Bunch of red decks in Legacy trying this card out. It hasn't reached quite the same prices as some of its counterparts, and that's why I'd be keeping an eye on it today. A couple of versions you might be able to snag on eBay under $3. TCG Player, similar story. 191 listings here for maybe about $4 average. The price is kind of fluctuating, so there might be some interest here. I would get in on this deal before this one spikes to the similar prices that the other versions of this card see. That's my list for the first week of April. Let me know if you have any of these cards, if you use any of these cards, or any other cards that you are speculating on in the comments.